Hello and happy April 16th, 2026. It might be the 17th, depending on where you're tuning in from. Hello. Welcome to our Thursday night live Kickstarter update. I have posted this YouTube link in a number of channels over the last 30 to 40 minutes. I'm not going to run any music so we don't get shadow banned from the old YouTube algorithms. Thank you very much right off the bat to everybody out there. It's been an amazing week with the Return to Moonbase Alpha Kickstarter. And we're making our way to that second stretch goal, everyone. I'm just so excited and so thrilled. We're about a third of the way there. So we've got roughly $10,000 US remaining. We're at about 30. We need 40. And this will, of course, allow us to commission that wonderful, wonderful vintage special effects filming shoot, incorporating original models, original props actually used in Space 1999. And I have a strong feeling we're going to do it. And it's really, been the dream of so many people out there. I know for a fact that the modeling community is it's probably a larger fan base than the series itself. The Eagle Transporter and all of the wonderful designs that Brian Johnson came up with all those years ago, and crew, Martin Bauer, Nick Older, to see these iconic pieces, and we all know, I mean, they're precious. I mean, it's like, the USS Enterprise on display at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., right? We saw Eagle One sell at auction here a couple of years ago for well over, I think it was 125,000 pounds for a 44-inch Eagle. It's just remarkable how cherished these things are, and the fact that we're hopefully going to be able to have them in our production is just so exciting and so thrilling for all of us. So we have, right off the bat, we have some comments, some people rolling in, and oh, look at that. So who's out there tonight? Hello, Mr. Arthur. Hi, Warren, and all from Michigan. Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining in tonight. We have Miss Nancy. Hello, everyone. Nancy in Calgary, Alberta, joining us as well. We've got Mr. Andy Tucker. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing great. To you as well, Andy and Amy. And I really appreciate everybody's help and support the last week in sharing and getting the word out there. It's just remarkable how quickly we're getting the word around and how it's grown. And I think I teased about last week around the time that we hit that first goal. We're just getting started, literally. If we can do this a second goal here, I mean, there's going to be a lot of exciting things just focused around this very special effects goal, if you will. And there's going to be some people involved that have reached out already that are so excited and looking forward to taking part. And we hope to fill all of you in on who's been in touch and who's going to be working behind the scenes here very, very shortly. So I wanted to mention right off the bat that I was dropping this in a number of groups, and surprise, we have a new reward tier that I just went live about 20 minutes ago. So for anybody out there viewing, you can be one of the first, because here's the thing, there's only one. So it's not 3, it's not 5, it's a one-off, one-of-a-kind original Space 1999 shooting script. It's a year 2 script, an actual production used item, and we have bundled it along with our full digital tier, which is one of the most popular tiers, as well as both breakaway versions and the full autograph tier as well. So you get an 11 by 14 cast autograph from everybody who's going to be in Manchester, plus Nick Tate, Catherine Schell, Anton Phillips, Yasuko Nagazumi, 8 by 10 autographs. So it is an amazing tier only one available. So if you've been on the fence and looking for something that really, really stands out, head on over to that Kickstarter page and take advantage, because once that it's for the Lambda factor. Once it's gone, it's gone. So there you go. There's your surprise reward tier. What I'd like to do today is yesterday I actually was on another podcast with a really nice fellow named Lance, and he reached out to me and heard all about the Kickstarter and wanted to get us on to help cross promote things. So I was just going to actually run that show within our show. We've done this a couple times now, in case anybody missed it. And yeah, it was a great time. Nice, really nice discussion about primarily year one of Space 1999. He's obviously a year one fan. But we did delve into year two a little bit, and just talk about some of the golden nuggets in there as well. But yeah, so I'll just go ahead and run that. I'll still be here for comments as they're rolling in. Do check out that Kickstarter, and if I could just take 30 seconds again and just stress the importance of everybody out there just giving us a share or two. It doesn't take much. We're not asking for more donations or double dipping, but it's just really like I've said time and time again, it's that exponential factor of, if we can get the word out there enough times, this thing is going to go to the moon, literally. So we really appreciate that. Oh, Nancy's saying, I caught the replay of the podcast with Lance. It was very good. Yeah, you bet, Nancy. It was a lot of fun. Lance is actually hopefully going to be coming to Manchester, so he's not that far away. So really nice fellow, really appreciative of the fact that he reached out to us upon hearing word of the Kickstarter, and he's helping us spread things around as well. So I'll go ahead and roll that. But like I said, if there's anybody out there chiming in with any questions on the Kickstarter, we are, like I said, we're just over 30,000 US. So, and I think that translates to about 22,000 pounds. So, yeah, about 10,000 away. And that is, like I said, roughly 1/3 of what we were hoping to achieve. So, Christopher's out there as well. Hello, my friend. How you doing? And yeah, I'll go ahead and roll that. It's just it's about an hour, just over an hour. But some really good conversation and some insight. Like, he's an industry fellow as well. So he knows people who knew people that actually worked on Jerry Anderson's Space Precinct. He actually met Jerry 2 or 3 times, as well as Sylvia, of course. I'm so envious on both counts. And yeah, I'll go ahead and roll that. I'll be around in the comments though, and we'll circle back. But if you did miss it, there's a new surprise reward tier, one only. It's a Space 1999 authentic original shooting script for the Lambda Factor that's just gone live in the last 30 minutes or so over there on Kickstarter. So, all right, we will see you all in a bit. I'll be around in the comments. Enjoy.
We talked to the legends of the creative and entertainment industry. We talked to those on the rise. Lance Dean Anthony Nielsen asks about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. This is Outcast Creative, and this is Industry Interviews.
Hello, welcome back to the Atcast Create channel, to industry interview 152. Can you believe it? It's 152 in about 2.5, 3 years. Fantastic stuff. Now, one of the things that we like to do on the channel, and it's actually a primary goal of mine, is to support other creators, particularly independent projects. And as you know, I've gone hunting on Kickstarter and Indiegogo and places like that for projects to support in the past. In fact, that's something that I've proactively done ever since those platforms became a reality. And when this channel took the direction that it took, one of the things I always said was independent filmmakers and independent creators would always be welcome here, and they could use my channel to advertise whatever project they're in and elicit further support for it. But they didn't even need to make that request of me in the case of this project. I went looking for them because, as people will know, I'm a big fan of Jerry Anderson. My good friend, the late Alan Marks, of course, worked on Space Precinct, and I was lucky enough to meet Alan on the set and Jerry and go and visit the miniature effects unit on a number of occasions. I also met Jerry Anderson several times. And of course, I'm a collector of miniatures from the world of Jerry Anderson, as we can see. And one of the best worlds that he created was the world of Space 1999. This is a science fiction TV series that ran for 2 seasons. And if you're going to watch it and you haven't seen it before, please watch season 1. I would predominantly recommend. And we talked about it on Monday, when unfortunately my guest I'll be bringing on shortly unfortunately was delayed due to a family matter. So we continued that stream anyway, and we did a top 5 episodes of season 1 Space 1999. So you might want to go and check that out. The campaign on Kickstarter is currently active, and it has reached its initial goal, but they're now looking to commit to a stretch goal, and that stretch goal will enable extra footage to be shot for this project, which I'm going to let my guest talk to about. Now, the link for this is already below. I'll be putting it in the chat as we go along. But this is live on Kickstarter now. Return to Moonbase Alpha. So without any further ado, let me bring in one of the key individuals behind this project, Warren Frederick. Thank you very much for joining me.
Well, hello, Lance. Thank you so much for having me on today.
I feel like you're in a room where behind you there's all these blurred eagles that are like out of focus. I don't know if that's true, but
there might be a couple. There might be a couple.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks very much for coming on, Warren. I'm sorry you couldn't. You had an emergency on Monday, but it's great that we persevered and managed to make this happen, because I had a huge audience waiting to come on Monday. Hopefully, people will come and watch. This will stay on the channel so people can watch it at any time. And I have advertised it as much as I can, but
absolutely. Thank you so much for the reschedule. I really appreciate it, and this is so important to our effort, of course, Lance.
Not at all. One of the things that we did on Monday was we watched the Message from Moonbase Alpha fan film, which was made with the late great, fantastic actress Zena Merton, somebody I always really wanted to meet. I always wanted to meet Zena, never did, sadly. She gave a fantastic performance in that. And my understanding of your project is it's a similar fan film, and it's sort of going to pick up where that one left off, but some years later.
Mm-hmm, that's correct. A lot of people, sorry, Lance, actually consider Message from Moonbase Alpha is sort of considered the canonical 49th episode. There were 48 episodes originally. Message from Moonbase Alpha, just that wonderful little production that was put out in about 25 years ago now, is considered number 49. And of course, we're hoping to achieve that same status with our project, Return to Moonbase Alpha. Hopefully, if all things come together and things play out as anticipated, it'll be considered the 50th episode for the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, I mean, which would be fantastic. And I mean, I don't think any Space 1999 or Jerry Anderson fan worth their salt wouldn't consider Message from Moonbase Alpha a piece of canon, because it's so authentically done. I think the first time I might have, was it added to one of the DVD package releases?
I believe you're right. It was, if it was only one time only, because there was a lot of issues with those rights down through the years with
I can imagine
a few people. But I believe it was released officially on one home video package. And I think it was only in the UK as well.
Yeah, I think it's on the DVD box set that I've got.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was I didn't notice it was on there until a few years ago. I sort of like read about it and thought, I'm sure this is on the extras. Let me go and have a look.
Right.
And that's where I'm pretty sure that's where I first saw it.
Yeah.
And it's it's really, really good. And Zena Merton, probably the performance of her career, that speech, I would argue.
Oh, very likely. Yeah. I wasn't at the world premiere in 1999 in Los Angeles. That was the big breakaway convention, of course. But all the stories I've heard down through the years are, essentially that this was sort of presented last thing on the Sunday during the closing ceremonies. And there was literally not a dry eye in the house.
Was she present when it was screened that first time?
I think she was, Lance. I think she was there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been, I don't know if anybody recorded the audience reaction, but I guess digital cameras then was sort of a bit more in their infancy. But before we get on to all that, I forgot to ask you, you're my guest. I've got to ask you my standard guest questions. So I do this with all my guests, just a few quick questions, and then we'll come back to Space 1999 in a second.
Sure.
Just so we understand your own cultural influences growing up. What was the first big movie that you got to see on the cinema screen when you were a kid?
Well, first big movie, there was a couple of...
any movie. I mean, First movie you saw on the big screen, the first one that you can remember being taken to go and see, probably by your parents, I would imagine.
Probably Star Wars.
Yeah, that was it for me. Well, one of them, certainly. What about the last film that you paid to see on the big screen?
Oh, I just went with my family and my nephews here a couple weeks ago. Super Mario Brothers 2.
Fantastic. What would you say is a go-to movie of yours that you can chuck on any Sunday afternoon when you kind of want to veg out?
Probably something from along the lines of Blade Runner, Alien or Aliens. I'm a big fan of. From back in the 80s. That's sort of when I grew up. So that whole 80s era is very near and dear to me. Also something, he's only got a catalog of about 7 titles, but I'm a big fan of director David Lynch as well.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his version of Dune, and in fact, I've got a 3.5 hour cut of his movie. I could tell you a story about how I accidentally saw the wrong version of it at the cinema, but that go down a whole rabbit hole with that. TV show since 1997, a drama show, can be any genre within drama, that came out that you absolutely had to watch every episode and every season of.
1997. That's an interesting.
That's when The Sopranos came out, so it's sort of and that was a game changer. So after Sopranos, you had a lot of really good drama TV. I'm just wondering which show maybe caught your eye.
Right, and so this does count because it was 2017, but originally it was on in 89, 90, and that's David Lynch's Twin Peaks. The series came back in 2017 for a 3rd season.
That's right, it did. Very good. Right, let's move on to Jerry Anderson shows. Do you have a favourite Anderson show? Would it be Space 1999, or is it?
Absolutely, 1999. And long story short, Lance, it was simply because it was in Canada, it was the very first science fiction series I ever saw as a boy. So it really stuck with me.
Yeah, that would have a huge influence on you as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
For sure.
Close number 2 is UFO. Close number 2.
Which is okay. So here's a space 1999 question. Which guest vehicle, so not the Eagle, would have been your favorite ship that appeared in season 1?
Okay, so not an Eagle.
Not an Eagle, no, because that's in every episode.
Well, sure.
But you had a lot of interesting guest spaceships.
Yeah, sure. Oh, definitely. The Ultra Probe from Dragon's Domain.
Yeah. Well, we had a massive discussion about Dragon's Domain on Monday. This would be mine from The Last Enemy.
The Cetasius, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what happened to that model. If it still exists somewhere, probably not. But I know a lot of the original stuff got destroyed or reused, as they often did.
Well, a lot of them, sadly, you're right, Lance, aren't with us any longer, but gratefully, thankfully, a lot of them are. And the Cetasius, I don't know offhand. I did see a massive studio scale size replica in Calgary, Canada here, by a model builder named Darren Peters. Had a huge Cetasius that he brought to a little and it is, regardless, it's impressive. It's a beautiful ship.
Did he build a missile launcher that popped out the top to fire the rocket?
I don't think he did, but
that would have been cool if he'd switched a button and that popped out. Yeah, because we talked top 5 episodes on Space 1999, and like you, I was a kid when it came out. There were 2 sci-fi shows that were basically on. There was this, and there was Star Trek, and I've got a vague recollection of Star Trek being on sort of, I think it was like Sunday afternoon in the UK, maybe around 5. Seem to recall it was either just before or just after we would have dinner as a family, and my dad was very into it. So, got to watch Kirk and Spock doing their thing. And then, I don't know if you know this, but when Space 1999 came out, like UFO, it was pitched very much in the UK as an adult show for adults. And it dropped on Saturday night at 7:00. So because it was after 6, it was past my bedtime, even though it was the weekend. So I'd seen all these trailers for this great show, and then I wasn't allowed to watch it. But ITV very quickly picked up on this, and I think before the run had even finished, they started repeating it on Saturday lunchtime at 1, I think, or midday, just before the news. So I did get to start watching it by, I think it was around 76, I probably started watching it. And then Star Wars came out, literally. Nice. And it's funny because a lot of people think this came out after Star Wars, but it didn't.
I know. And it's a very interesting time because if anybody out there isn't aware, Space almost had a 3rd season. It was very, very close. And had that happened, it would be a completely different story today. Because it was just really unfortunate that it was canceled when it did, because had it been around for another year after the hype and fervor of all things Star Wars, who knows where the series may have ended up.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could have had a really interesting 3rd season with a lot less monsters in suits, and hopefully the perfect mix of action and sort of cerebral scientific thinking, which was when that's when the show was at its best. Before we get to your involvement in the project as a fan, I'm curious to hear, as we did this on Monday, what would be in your top 5 season 1 Space 1999 episodes.
Sure. And Lance, I'm just going to circle back to the aforementioned era of the mid 1970s and being virtually 5 and 6 years old. I was born in '69. So, in comparison to Star Trek, which was also on at the same time, it was being rerun in Canada. But to me, space was so much more realistic. It was because Star Trek being produced in the late '60s, right? But around the same time, as well as the Apollo program, right? Space, in my mind, was an extension of all things NASA and the Apollo program, and right down to those designs and the Eagle itself and the moon base interiors, all in my mind, might be a little biased, but they hold up very, very well today. But to your point, my very, very favorite episode, and again, it's because it had such an impact when I was at that age, is certainly Dragon's Domain. It terrified me. It horrified me, and that's what I've always, from there, like I mentioned, Alien. Even I love the science fiction horror mashup as a genre.
We discussed Dragon's Domain at length on Monday. And we were all sort of equally terrified by, the creature, the whole Bermuda Triangle kind of vibe that the episode had.
Yes.
And that monster was horrifying, and it wasn't particularly horrifying in the sense of its concept. It's the way it was shot. It was the sound design, the light, the noise it made, and the way it cooked the people and then spewed them out. And I remember when I was watching it, even though I wasn't aware that the actor would later become the teacher everybody hated on the TV series Grange Hill, I didn't mind when Michael Shared got killed, but as a kid I was very upset when the two women got killed, because one of them was a dead ringer for my mum. So I was like, no, don't let her get killed. And no. Tony Badeshi's trying to save them. And that episode was proper scary. And I think it still holds up. I watched it recently, and it does. It holds up. I mean, the model work and stuff in it's great.
Oh, it's remarkable. But you know what? And the other thing, as you were saying, Lance, is just the everything about the episode in my mind is like a mini movie, like just the way
it is
shot, the sound design in particular of the monster, the scream, and all of the things of nightmare fuel for a 5 and 6 year old, and this is why it's I think endured for so many years, is because it had that effect on many people around the world.
What other episodes would make it into your top 5?
Sure. Well, and if we're sticking with year 1,
just year 1. I won't get into year 2. That's a whole other rabbit hole. I
know. It's and that's been the age-old debate, right? And
I know it's got its fans, but I'm afraid I'm not one of them. No. I think there's a couple of things I like about it. I like the cool jackets that everybody wears.
Yep. There was golden nuggets in there, Lance. I have to. I'm also running a concurrent YouTube podcast and reviewing the episodes, and me and a few friends, and it is tough when you get into some of those year 2 episodes to even maintain topics of conversation.
I'm
some of them. But no,
get
you know what?
Get me on for the 2-parter. I'll talk about that one.
I like that episode. It was, we won't spend a lot of time in it, but I mean, and Freddie Freiberger, the producer who was brought on board, he's taken a lot of heat down through the years, but essentially, the stories come out that if it weren't for Freddie Freiberger, there wouldn't have been a second season.
He was basically sent in to make lots of cuts and save money.
Exactly. He was hired to do a job, and he did it. It was more action oriented. It was faster paced, right? The characters, say what you will, good or bad, there was more humor injected, right? They were a little more relatable as characters, which were some of the critiques of year one, is that some of the acting style was very, very wooden and off-putting. But yeah, there's pros and cons to everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other topic of conversation.
But
I think it's chalk and cheese, isn't it? But I think season one scripts were just better.
Well, and listen, let's on that whole idea of Dragon's Domain and the design of the monster, right? I mean, say what you will, Dragon's Domain was so memorable because it wasn't just a guy in a rubber suit, right?
No. And I mean, there's lots of ways to do a monster more effectively than any of the monsters in season 2. Yeah. Exactly. What would be your other top 5?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Before we went live here, Lance, I have a sort of 3 or 4 that are favorites, and they sort of all rely on that trope, or that legend, if you will, if you're a space fan, called the mysterious unknown force. So
right.
Meaning some of those episodes that didn't really give you the clear and concise answer at the end, right? And
sure.
a lot of things are left up to your own self-interpretation. So that would encompass episodes like Black Sun,
right?
Another Time, Another Place for me.
Yeah.
Collision Course,
right?
And we were talking about this one before we went live. I really like Testament of Arcadia.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Testament of Arcadia, which was the season closer for season 1, for anyone who's not familiar, at length. And I think there were just some things about it that didn't work for me. One of them was like I watched it again recently. I've seen most of season 1 pretty recently.
Yeah.
And, I'll get through the odd episode and I won't finish it. I'll be like, oh no, let's skip to Space Brain. I love Space Brain. So lots of people running around in loads of foam is always going to work, isn't it? Foam party on Space 1999. But this one is so over the top with the music, with that whole sequence with the light and the skeletons, and then the voiceover and what they saw in the cave and all the rest of it. But then you can't get away from the conclusion of, well, hang on, these 2 people have gone to this planet. They might be able to conceive 1 child. Then what are they going to do? Because, I mean, maybe they'll have another child, but those children can't sleep with each other to have more children, because that's not going to work. So what's going to happen then? That colony is going to die really fast, regardless of how much food and whatever there. So it's got this massive plot hole that really some skeletons in a room with some scripture didn't quite fulfill for me. And I also thought as an ending for season 1, I thought it just kind of sucked. Just sort of ended on a really weird low point. But
well, that's interesting. I've never really considered that, but it's a good point, Lance. I mean, it probably would have worked a lot better if say, even a dozen colonists had remained on the planet. Or
I think if an eagle full of people,
yeah,
and that would have also. I mean, the problem is then they would have had to have given like 4 other people lines. So that's. I mean, and it may be in the original script it was like 5 or 6 people, which would have made more sense. And somebody came along and said, Jerry, we can't afford that. It's just, okay, we'll make it a couple then. I thought the actors were great and the story concept itself was fine. But I think the fix would have been, let's make it an eagle full of people that want to stay.
Yeah.
But I think War Games should have been the final episode of season 1. And it's also the toss up between number 1 for me is between War Games and Dragon's Domain. I think Dragon's Domain ultimately clinches it, but War Games is full of action, and you also get to see so much of Alpha and all the different things it would do in the result of an emergency. Plus, it's got alien ships in it.
It was a fantastic special effects tour de force for sure, Lance.
Yeah, and I always like when they do. They did a lot of this in season one, especially. I always love when they do these forced perspective.
Beautiful.
You know, that's that's a painting with a foreground miniature, basically, and they did a lot of forced perspective stuff in the show, which was really effective. One of my other top 5 episodes would be Mission of the Darians. I don't know if you're a fan of that one.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I really like that episode, and not because Joan Collins is in it. I completely forgot that she was in it.
Yeah.
I just love all the visual effects work and the model as well for this. I believe this model is still around, isn't it? For this, I think this is still around. Someone's got this. I read a long time ago that somebody had this.
I think so. Or at least parts of it.
Yeah, it might just be parts. It absolutely could just be parts of it. There's the lovely Joan Collins. She still looks pretty close to that now, thanks to the wonders of modern engineering.
Yes, no kidding.
But yeah, I liked all the. There's a lot of they did a lot of those wonderful kind of backdrops when they're walking around the alien city, and you've got the forced perspective matte paintings and stuff.
Matte paintings are just really opened up so many elements and aspects of year one. That's, one critique I have about year two is that they got away from all that, including the main mission set itself was reduced to the small command center set, which was very small and claustrophobic. And on screen, that main mission control center was just so impressive.
Well, it just gave it a more grand scale about everything. The base felt big, and the command center felt important. In the second season, everything just sort of feels a bit off. I don't know. But how many of the cast have you met over the years? And let's talk about your interest in the show now. When did it go from beyond just being a viewer, and talk us into how you got involved in this project? Lead us in.
For sure. Well, to answer that, so probably, I was very young when it was first on, and I didn't remember a lot about the series until it came around in reruns for the first time in Canada, probably in the mid 1980s. And that sort of reinvigorated my interest. From there, in the early 90s, I got involved with a fandom somewhat through a couple of fan clubs and things like that, and letter writing, back in the day, but, pre-internet. And it just sort of took off from there. In 1995, I attended my first it wasn't even a full convention, but it was a gathering of fans with actor Barry Morse.
I met Barry, actually.
Did you? Yeah, he's lovely. Yeah,
he was. I met him in, I want to say 98, I think it was. He was a good friend of a friend of mine called James, and James was kind enough to bring him along to a play I was directing.
Yeah. He was lovely. He was doing a play, and that's why we all got together with June Lockhart from Lost in Space.
Right.
And it was it was just a nice intimate. It was almost like I'll term like a relaxicon, like a mini convention.
Yeah.
That was my first experience. And then from there, I sort of dropped out of fandom for about 15 years and then came back, and I really got going again in around about 2012. There was a big one in LA, and then 2014 there was another one in Peterborough that I came over to the UK for the first time, and it's just been onward and upward. We hit, of course, that interesting time in 2020 for us all, where the world changed, and I had actually announced that I was going to do. So there was one in 2019. I announced that I was going to do one in 2021, but of course we had the delay because of that world happening there. But I spun that into, actually, I put together a couple of virtual events for the first time in Space 1999 fandom. So we did a virtual event in 21, 22. Then I did a small live event in 2023 in Calgary, Canada, relatively close to me. And then the big one, of course, and the one that sort of got delayed all those years was we had the big 50th anniversary in London in 2024.
Yeah, which was in Heathrow. And
Yes.
I was so close to going to that. I saw all the videos though, because there was a lot of really good videos.
We had over 30 celebrities there, the largest gathering in history. And we had some amazing models and props on display, and including a full Eagle cockpit for everybody to enjoy. And
yeah, that's right.
Very good friend of mine commissioned that build, and it's just the level of accuracy and detail. I mean, it was a dream come true for many fans to get dressed up in a spacesuit.
Did Prentice Hancock make that convention? Because he was still alive, wasn't he?
He was, and he was one of our cancellations. We had an incredible guest list, like I said, and Prentice was scheduled to join us, but he did have to cancel last minute. We did have Prentice on our live events, and I first met Prentice back in 2014 in Peterborough. So I sort of kept in touch with him down through the years. Then, yes, sadly, we lost both Prentice and Clifton Jones, who played Kano last year, within a week of each other, sadly.
Yeah, well, we're not getting any younger. I had a massive crush on Suzanne Roquette, who there was her, and there was another extra who looked almost like her sister. They often sort of sat next to each other in season 1. I don't know who the second girl was. And a friend of mine was in Band of Brothers. He stayed with me the entire time they were shooting the show. And it wasn't until I watched the show that I realised that she was in it. And I spotted her straight away, and I went, God, that's the woman from Space 1999. I used to have a crush on her. She's got no dialogue, but she just plays a German woman in the episode While We Fight. I'm sure you know all this. And she's really good in it, even without any dialogue, you know.
I think her name is Sarah Bullen, if that's the actress that you're referring to. The
second lady. In the Suzanne Roquette is the one who was in Band of Brothers, who played Tanya.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Suzanne played Tanya in the series. Yeah.
But there was another girl that sat near Tanya as well. They almost looked like sisters, but she was just like an extra. I think Tanya occasionally got lines, didn't she?
Occasionally. But,
if
it is Sarah, she had very little dialogue throughout the series, but she was always there in the background.
Yeah.
But I totally forgot that Suzanne Roquette was in Band of Brothers. That's right.
Yeah, most people don't even realise it's her, and she's the one she's a widow of a German officer. She's forced to go into the concentration camp and help bury the bodies in the episode While We Fight, which is I think the second from last episode, and it's a man, that's a powerful piece of television right there.
Indeed.
But it's a shame, because she would have been another great one to have had in the project. So you were attending the conventions, and you obviously made connections with, I guess, what you would call Space 1999 super fans. I was an active part of I don't know whether it was a Facebook group, or I think I have a recollection it was more like a website. It was dedicated purely to the Eagle, and people used to post their collection Eagle collection pictures there. Do you remember that website?
Well, there was, back in the 90s, again, when the internet was still sort of new.
This was around early 2000s. It was around the same time as MySpace, the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, there was, I remember there was one called Eagle Transporter Forum.
I think that was it. That was it. Yeah, that's not still around, is it?
No, I know a lot of the people still are, but yeah.
I was on that with my small collection of Eagles compared to other people's monstrous collections.
Well, it's interesting because I mean I've joked down through the years that for as obscure as Space 1999 is, it's probably known more or remembered more for the Eagle itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, over time, I think the Eagle's really become the leading character.
Yeah.
It's, some people might not even remember Commander Coney. No offense, Martin, obviously fantastic performance, but everyone remembers the Eagle. Some people remember the Eagle, but not the show, which is, like you'll show someone an Eagle and they'll go, oh, yeah, I've seen that. That's
what's that cool. From again? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's, where is that? And we have a documentary doing the film festival rounds at the minute. Do you know the guys behind that?
Yeah, that's the Eagle Obsession, and the showrunner there is a fellow named Jeffrey Morris, and that was another project sort of in the works the last couple of years. And I haven't seen it yet, but we did have a small event last September in Los Angeles, and it was sort of ran there, and everybody really loved it, said it was amazing.
Feedback and reviews and things for this doc, and shout out to Jeffrey Morris for persisting with this, and I followed it. I followed it from when he first announced he was going to do this. I think there was a video somewhere, it was either on YouTube or just social media, and that was before they did the crowdfunding campaign, and then the crowdfunding campaign followed very soon after. Yeah, and it looks great from what I can tell.
Yeah, and he's got some amazing people on board, right? He interviewed a couple of astronauts, Charlie Duke, I believe.
Yeah.
William Shatner is a part of it.
That's right.
So he's really done an amazing job.
Look forward to seeing that when it comes out. I think it's not too late to order Blu-rays and things if people would like to get a copy. Yeah. So how did all this? So obviously you were a fan. You attended conventions. Talk about how that turned into what we're hoping will be the sort of unofficial episode 50. I've got a photograph, by the way, of that convention in 2012 in LA. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Are you in that picture?
I'm in there somewhere. Yeah, I remember they had all those photos along the wall there, and I still own some of them. They're beautiful, and then we had a number of the celebrities actually sign those photos, and then they were auctioned off for charity at the end of the event.
Fantastic.
Yeah. No, that was 2012. Yeah, so that's right when I think I mentioned I got sort of back on board after a number of years off, and that was my first event in a long time, and reconnecting with a bunch of people as well.
Mm. So how did this lead to
so
Moonbase Alpha? Talk us through it.
Absolutely. So that I think I mentioned I missed 99, so I missed the first showing of Message from Moonbase Alpha, but of course by that time versions had started to creep up on home video releases, like you said, and of course on YouTube and places like that. So I was well familiar with Message from Moonbase Alpha. But in the early 2020s, then, like I said, when I sort of spun things into a couple of virtual events, and in 2023. Oh, here's our latest trailer, actually. Yeah.
I'll keep the audio off because I'll probably get some kind of copyright flag.
Right.
You can just talk us through the project while this is playing.
So what actually happened in 2023 is a group of us actually stumbled upon some collection or some items from Martin Landau's private and personal collection.
Yeah, there's a tape, isn't there? Some tape.
Yeah, right. So we were able to recover. They almost hit the dumpster. Virtually all of his episodes on an old 1970s video cassette format called U-matic.
Yeah.
And so I had them intercepted and shipped up to Canada. It cost me a bundle. But of course, and we just saw a couple of pictures, but the whole Lance, was that we were going to find all this extra footage and outtakes and all these famous scenes, in particular in relation to Breakaway. We'd known for many, many years that there was a much longer original version of
That's right.
of the pilot.
Was that on there?
So it wasn't, sadly. You know, we had all of our hopes built up. We got the tapes. I had to find a player, which was enough of a challenge. I happened to source fairly close to me, and I'll tell you, these things.
Not just finding a player, but finding a player that worked.
I know. It was remarkable, but I got it all hooked up, and of course the intention all along was to digitize everything, and but no, sadly, Breakaway. See, the U-matic format was very limited because they were only 60-minute tapes.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even have anything that ran more than an hour unless you split it up into two. But long story short, what that did for me is it really sparked my imagination, and most of the episodes were recovered, but strangely enough, there was also a copy on 2 tapes again of the 1980s compilation movie called Destination Moonbase Alpha, which was actually put together from the 2-part episode in year 2 called Bringers of Wonder. So there was a collection of these tapes, and I don't know if I've even got one right here.
I'll enlarge you for a second so we can.
I'm also blurred, so it's not going to work too well. But long story short is that the version of Destination Moonbase Alpha, which is what we know it as, was mislabeled, and whoever was putting the tape together at the transfer service at ITC New York mislabeled it and called it Return to Moonbase Alpha.
Right.
So that was the impetus of the idea for me. To reach out to a few people and sort of, we came up with this idea for the 50th anniversary that wouldn't it be nice to follow up on a couple of threads and story ideas that were presented in Message, the biggest of which was there was a line that Xenia delivers in Message that references the moon returning on a slingshot after 25 years.
That's right,
yeah. So that's really, that was the crux of our idea right there, is that the moon would be returning, and then of course on top of that maybe a number of Elfins would like to return, or a number of they colonized a planet named Terra Alpha, but that's sort of what started the entire process, and it's I've been working on it for a couple years, and we've still been doing the conventions. We've done a couple trailers. We did a trailer back in 2024 to sort of whet the appetite of people, and that was with actor Anton Phillips, who was Dr. Matthias in year 1. And went over really, really well. And Anton just gave an incredible performance. And then earlier this year, that trailer you were just running, Lance, I put together about 6 weeks ago in conjunction with launching the Kickstarter finally. So that trailer is actually narrated by a fellow named Christian Anholt, who is the son of actor Tony Anholt, from year 2. So,
because he passed away quite young, didn't he?
He did. Very, very sadly. He was only in his early 50s. And Christian came to our event in London, and that's sort of where we were talking about this whole idea, and we had the Eagle a set right there, and it just sort of sparked a lot of topics of conversation. But Christian said he'd really like to take part, and he would do it, more so as a tribute to his late father than anything, right? And so we put together this new trailer called Moonrise, and it ended up being sort of a nice little tribute to all the actors that we've lost over the last few years.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, because if he's in it, he could technically play his son.
He could play his son. That's exactly it. And the other thing that's very important all along is that in the world of reboots and reimaginations and remakes, we really wanted to do a straight continuation. And that's what Message was 25 years ago. It was a continuation of the story. And we found that little plot thread about the moon coming back, the perfect vehicle to launch another direct sequel, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think although this, of course, will be a fan film for copyright reasons and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it could also act as a great springboard slash pitch deck, effectively, for a new show. I mean, I would love to, if someone did like even a six-parter or something like that of, what happened to them, and maybe some people want to go back and reoccupy Alpha and stay with it and see where it goes, and some don't. That would be a great movie in its own. And I would say build the sets exactly as they were. Keep the costumes exactly as they were. Don't reimagine any of it. Okay, minimize the hairdos a bit.
Yeah.
But, modernize the haircuts, but that's about all you would need to do. But the costumes, and including the jackets of season 2, which I think is an element of season 2 that's worth saving.
Yeah.
They would all work just fine, and you could really do something with it. I know Nick Tate's on board, and as a kid, I think we all wanted to be Alan Carter. We all wanted to be that cool pilot, and it's quite funny as an adult. You're watching the show, and it's like there's always an episode where he's got a girl on each arm somewhere. I'm sure he had a ton of fun. You must have heard lots of stories.
He did, Nick. He's a dear friend, and of course, down through the years. Yeah, I mean, space conventions in general, we're very lucky because they're not like a big corporate fan expo or Comic-Con, right? It's only a few hundred people, and you do get a lot of one-on-one time with the stars and celebrities, right? They might be wandering by at breakfast and decide to join you. You never know, right? So that's one of the pluses. But yeah, Nick, down through the years, he's, of course, him and I have had some pretty interesting conversations about his time in the series.
Yeah, I'm sure. Down the pub.
Yeah.
Is there any chance of Catherine Shell coming back? Because she's still alive. Would she be up for taking part, do you think?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Lance, because not only, without giving away too much,
sure.
Catherine, again, was at our London event a couple years ago, so we've maintained a contact. And
God, did I miss the chance of meeting Catherine? Oh, my God.
You did. Yeah, she was wonderful in London. Yeah. Sadly, she's not going to be able to join us this year in Manchester in September, by the way, which, that's going to be our next event. That's also when we're going to be filming the majority of the live action elements for this little fan film, Return to Midway Alpha. So, and that just made sense all along as well. And it was sort of, the live events and this project that I have been working on for the last 2 or 3 years have been sort of tangentially linked, right? Because it only made sense to try and hold another live event where some of the actors are going to come together, but then also have the sets there, like Daryl's Eagle cockpit. Right?
Yeah.
So we're going to be filming, most of that this September, and hopefully see a release by the end of the year or early next year. I just lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that one?
Well, we were talking about participation of actors that are still alive. And
Catherine in particular.
She couldn't come to the convention, but might be able to partake somehow.
She might. I'll just say this: there might be another trailer between now and the official release that would maybe involve Catherine, or maybe she could, even in narration voiceover fashion, contribute to parts of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways that an actor who may be of such an age that they don't necessarily want to spend all day sitting on a set and working in the industry. I know how challenging that can be, even for us, with fit constitutions, let alone people who perhaps their career is, they're quite pleased that they've retired from acting because it's quite a demanding job, But there's always ways of getting people involved through things like visual communications, a comlock message, maybe.
Sure.
Especially with the modern technology that we've got now, putting someone on screen in a scene is certainly a lot easier.
Very easy to achieve nowadays.
Yeah.
You're right. You're completely reading my mind there, Lance.
this is, if there was a caption competition for this picture, it would be cast of Space 1999 gather to vote that Catherine should return for season 2. That's what that picture
That's
should
right.
say.
Absolutely. Or maybe she could come back as the guardian of Piri, just like in that episode.
This episode is actually one of my favorite episodes of season 1 because it's a bonkers episode where clearly people have taken psychedelics and decided to write a story plot, but it's so well done. And I really love the production design of the planet, like this weird red and white chessboard with these kind of plants that actually they look like they're alive, but they're not, they're dead. And, they had a lot of fun with the production design, and then her being this kind of evil robot. It all sort of works really well. And the actors got to have a lot of fun because they had to all pretend they were essentially stoned.
Yeah.
Which, I dare say, considering the era, people were probably well versed in how to do that. But she was really good in this episode. So there's
Guardian of Piri, and another sort of fan favorite, Force of Life with
is that Ian McShane?
Ian McShane. It just eluded me. Yeah, Ian McShane.
Yeah, great actor. Also still around.
Mm-hmm.
His character did survive that episode, I think. No, he didn't. Oh, he died. Okay. Oh well, can't bring him back.
But no, I mean, say what you will. I mean, space and what Jerry and Sylvia both did there. I mean, they brought together a lot of course, very creative people, right? Both in front and behind the camera. Brian Johnson and the entire visual effects team. But then the guest stars as well. And we mentioned Joan Collins.
The season 1 guest star roster.
Yeah. Christopher Lee, of course. Peter Cushing. Some very, very big names. Yeah,
there's a lot of people that went on to, they might not be of the level of Joan Collins and Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, but you also had a lot of actors like Nick Brimble, who went on to be a very jobbing actor. He played Little John in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. You'd catch him in things like Who Dares Wins with Lewis Collins and whatnot, and very much a jobbing actor. And there's a lot of actors of that time that are either still acting now that did a little role in Space 99, or were acting right up until the end of their days. There was a few who were in and out, who didn't do loads of stuff, but most of them were really, really hard-working, jobbing actors. Now, Barbara Bain is still alive.
She is. We actually just celebrated her 94th, or was that?
That's right.
94th birthday last
I always got the impression she was quite disengaged from the show after. I mean, I don't know. You'd have a better idea than me.
Well, it was a challenging time for Barbara and Martin because they were also going through some marital difficulties.
I think they either got divorced during the second season or just at the end of it.
Pretty much. That was, so it's sort of, knowing that, and it's not to gossip or anything, but I mean, it is a fact of the matter. But you can imagine that, the pain that would have incurred, maybe she did want to distance herself a little bit from.
Not a fun time of memories, probably.
Yeah. So sad to say. And then, of course, the other unfortunate breakup there was, of course, Jerry and Sylvia during the production run as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was lucky that I met both of them. I only met Sylvia once, and that was purely by chance. It wasn't even at anything related to do with film production or whatever. She was with some friends of friends at the theatre, and we met her either I think it was in the bar in the interval, if I remember rightly, and got introduced to her. And I said, Lance, this is Sylvia. And I went, that's funny because, you really remind me of Sylvia Anderson. And she went, yeah, it's probably because I am her.
How about that, eh?
And I went, oh well, yes, that would be why. And I think I then managed to recover that with some half-assed compliment about, well, I didn't think you could be her because you look so beautiful.
There
Something
you
like
go.
that. Yeah, something like that.
Quick on the uptake. Good
She
job.
was very pleasant. She was very nice.
Nice.
And did a quick impersonation of Penelope for me. And,
oh, awesome.
You know, so
so cool that you met both of them. I never had the pleasure myself.
Yeah, Jerry. The first time I met Jerry, he did a talk at the cinema in Greenwich, and I still have the ticket for this event, which is why I can remember it. And I had for a long time, there was a poster, and it had a redesign of Thunderbird 2 on it, a version of it that I've never seen anywhere else. And it was called Project 2150 or something on this poster. And I wish I still had the poster because I had it for a long time. And I swiped it, but because there were about 5 of them pinned up on the event, and I thought, I'm having one of these, and I took it off the wall before I left, and it just got wrecked. You know, it was on my door, on my bedroom at my parents' house. I think it just got wrecked over the years from blue tack and what have you. But that he talked about that project because in the Q&A, my hand shot up first, and I asked him about it. But I can't remember the specifics of what that project was about, but it never came to be fully realized. But it was called something like Project 2150, and they had this, and I think it was the first attempt to get Thunderbirds rebooted as a newer version, which failed ultimately, and I think partly because of rights issues and whatever. But this was obviously part of the pitch deck for it. And it was not long after this that the first attempt to revive Captain Scarlet happened as well. And Alan Marks, who did the VFX on Space Precinct, my friend, he did the original pitch deck for that. He did the original 5-minute all CGI short
for New Captain Scarlet.
Yeah, but it wasn't the one that ultimately got made. There was an attempt to make it about 5 years before that, which failed. And it was Alan's job to present what could be done with the technology then, the computer technology then, and it was a short of Captain Scarlet climbing up the side of a lighthouse in a thunderstorm, and some spikes were fired into the side of it, either from an Angel aircraft or something to help him, which felt more like an episode of Thunderbirds. But it was Captain Scarlet in a storm climbing up something, and Captain Black trying to kill him, and Angel craft bombing about. It was all just like a visualization concept. Ultimately, that contract was won by a different company, which was the one that did the animation for the one that happened.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah,
I thought that show was actually quite good. The one that we got.
Yeah,
early 2000s.
It actually it did fairly well. It never aired over here again, but it's got quite a following.
Yeah, they screwed up the airing of it in the UK as well. It was they showed it on a children's TV program, and they cut it all up, and it was just ridiculous programming. It was absurd. So the hope with this is to what's the expected running time of this fan film?
Sure. Well, you know what I mean. We're sort of modeling things very much so off of Message from In-Base Alpha again, and that would,
keeping it
in
simple.
my mind, 7 to 10 minutes.
Right.
The interesting thing with the Kickstarter now, though, is that we've done really well, and we're almost up to 300% funded. So having a little bit of money and a little bit of a budget does change things, right? I mean, whereas initially it was a passion project for many of us, it's like now at least there's going to be, a little bit there to ensure that we can rent the proper equipment and maybe pay the actors a little bit, right? I mean, whereas initially, again, they're happy to do it, right? Because they realize that it's a labor of love, and space has been so good to them down through the years that they're happy to give back a little bit too. But it's over and above that, it's we're hoping to, and one of the things I did mention before we went live again, Lance, is that we're in the midst of running our second stretch goal currently, and so we're halfway through the month of April. We're about 300% funded, but we've launched a couple of stretch goals. This latest one is very interesting because we're looking to commission not only a very special practical effects shoot, but we're really trying to recapture that look and that visual aesthetic of the 1970s, and that includes using some of the original models from the series as well. And
yeah,
you know, replicas are great. There's some beautiful ones out there, but I mean, we do know a couple of the collectors who own these pieces, but what a wonderful nod to all the original work, and then a special dynamic for the fans to see the originals back on screen for the first time in 50 years.
Yeah. So I mean, just talk us through that a little bit. So obviously there are fans around who've not only got their own collections of the various Eagles that have come out over the years from different companies and different specialists, and some people have scratch built their own as well. There's been some amazing scratch builds out there, including a full size one. But some collectors have been fortunate enough to accrue not only the Eagles but some of the alien ships as well over the years. I think various people have got them all over the world, the ones that still exist. So the studio model that you're thinking of, or that you're going to be using, who ended up with that one, and how is that going to come to the UK, or is it in the UK?
So it's there's actually collectors all over the world that own these pieces, and actually there's some close to me in Canada. Believe it or not, there was only 3 44-inch Eagles ever built for the series. Right. And one of them currently lives in Canada. The other one that a lot of people out there might be aware of, Lance, is that what we called Eagle 1, the first one built for the series, actually sold very famously at a big auction here a couple of years ago. And it brought in something like, I think it was 125,000 pounds or something.
Damn, you can buy a house in Scotland.
I know. So, you know, the value of these cherished pieces has really, really gone up in value, of course, over the years. But you know, there's probably a handful of collectors who still own various pieces, and this could be like not only the Eagles, but it might be a moon buggy, right? Or it might be one of the original moon-based buildings that you saw. There's a lot of things that we can throw in there that are quote unquote original, right? And screen used, that are really going to make this a project, I think, very, very special for the fans.
I think it would be great to get some of the original props and pieces back on screen. Did Nick Tate keep anything of his from the show over the years?
I don't think so, but interestingly enough, we were talking about Tony Anholt and his son Christian, who came to London. Well, Christian actually brought along his dad's original Comlock.
Right.
That was given to him. He told the story. He said, my dad gave this to me when I was about a 10-year-old, and I played with it like a toy.
Thank God he didn't smash it against walls and things of that nature.
So it was, trust me, it you know, after 50 years, it was shown its wear. But just such a you know, we do have original props, right? But that was just such a neat one to know that it was coming from the son of one of the actors, and it was given to him, you know, as a child, as a toy.
I mean, we all wanted the stun gun when we were kids, and I remember there was. I think there was an episode of Blue Peter where they showed you how to build like one out of, I don't know what it was, like a stapler or something.
Yeah.
And my dad used to have like a big industrial stapler that looked a bit like a.
So did mine. Yep.
We all got
in trouble for playing with Dad's staple gun.
Yeah, and then you know my dad would be very annoyed because he kind of want to use this thing. He was a graphic designer. He used it quite a lot. And this went back in the days when it was all handheld before computers, you know, all hand drawn, Letraset and that kind of thing. And of course, he'd get the thing, and I'd find all the staples all over the house. They'd be all over the floor, and Yeah, that made me immensely unpopular with my father during that time. But he was pretty good about it. But yeah, that was the only thing I remember that vaguely looked like a Space 1999 stun gun, because I don't think they ever produced a toy of it.
Well, they did.
There's a replica. I know there's a replica, but at the time the show was on, I don't think there was a merch toy of that, was there?
There was in North America, because I had one.
Oh, really?
Yep.
God
Yep.
damn, man! I don't know how that got by us Brits, and it was shot in England. Do you know? I'll tell you something else I remember. This came to me recently. Is we used to have a show called Saturday Morning Show, and they had Barbara Bain and Martin Landau turned up on it as guests.
Okay.
Probably would have been 76, maybe 77.
Right in the hype of probably the blitz for the year 2 promo campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, because I remember that they had the jackets on that looked a bit like the tracksuits. Mm-hmm. And but the thing I remember about it was there was a competition, and the competition was to win one of those kind of bazooka rocket launch things.
Oh, like one of the laser rifles.
One of the laser rifles, right. And they brought it into the studio and they said, yeah, competition to win this. And I entered that competition. I can't remember what you had to do. You had to do that thing where you send something in on a stamped stress post envelope or whatever. And I think you just had to answer. It might have been a trivia question, or it might have just been, give us your idea for a title of the next exciting episode, whatever it was.
Sure.
But I would have loved to have known who won that. And if it was a fan, or whether some studio production assistant gave it to their kid or something, which is often the case back then. But somebody won that bazooka laser rifle thing. So the plan is to shoot this around the same time as the convention in September, because you've got the relevant people there. Does that mean you're going to have to hire a location and a sound studio or the equivalent of in the area or next to the convention place and shoot stuff there?
Well, I think we've got a lot of options on the table, and especially now, like I said, Lance, now that we've got a little money to work with as well, right, which is really nice. It does open up a lot of doors and possibilities, right, that we didn't have even 2 weeks ago. Ideally, I can't say for sure at this point how it's going to play out, but we always have the option to simply rent the event space at the hotel an extra day or two to.
Yeah.
To maybe accommodate things as well. Yeah. So, I mean, that would be perfect, right? Because then there's only one setup involved, and we can just roll it into the live event, and we can maybe shoot on the Friday beforehand if the exhibits aren't going to be open until Saturday. It's that would be ideal. So we'll see how it plays out. Yeah,
I mean, so I've just put this in the chat. This is the link for the convention, which is taking place in September from the 11th to the 13th. I think there's a good chance that I'm going to be there. Yeah, because fortunately, it's the one weekend in September that I either am not working, I'm not abroad because I'm going away. I've only got one holiday this year, and it happens to be for a week in September, but it's the week after this. So, and then I'm normally dancing on Saturdays, and this is the one weekend that I'm not dancing because it's the weekend before I go away.
Well, I'll make you a deal, Lance. If you can make it to Manchester, we can maybe on the Saturday night we'll have you give some dance lessons.
Well, yeah. I mean, my dancing is quite sci-fi, so that would probably actually go down better than you would think, because it looks. That's me dancing.
Wow.
Dance on stage like that in clubs at 53 years of age.
Holy smokes. Good for you.
So I'm sure I can do that for you. I've got laser gloves as well, so it will look very Space 1999, season 1, of course. So, I mean, what can people expect at the convention? Are you also involved in the running of that as well?
Yeah, that's sort of yeah. I think this time out, I'm pretty much, well, we've done this 2 or 3 times now. So you know, a lot of the infrastructure's there, right? We had the website, you know, we had the ticketing platform, which is, for anybody out there, if you go to that website that Lance just brought up, it is it's a PayPal account, right? But we've been using that since 2021, going right back to those virtuals, and you know, I just like to stress the fact that we are only a couple hundred people, 200 or 300 fans that attend these events, and the last thing we want to do is start handing over a percentage to like a big third-party ticketing firm. Like,
no, I mean, it's a family feel event, isn't it? Yeah, and do you know what? The smaller events like that, I think, are always much nicer, because you get a bit more time to talk to the guests. It's a bit more intimate, you know. And also, I think the guests like it as well because they're not so overrun and exhausted with thousands of people queuing up to ask them the same question.
Absolutely. And with a lot of our guests, and there's a beautiful shot from London, you know, they're in their 70s and 80s, and you know, to be running around with 20, 30,000 people just wouldn't be a fun time for them, right?
Is that Anton Phillips on the left in the blue shirt there?
He is sitting down in the front row. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
On the right,
okay.
That's Anton. On the complete opposite end, that's Clifton Jones in the wheelchair that we lost sadly last year.
Yeah. I know. Now I'm looking at it a bit closer. I can see.
Yeah.
Oh, and is that also is it?
It's Yasko. It's Yasko.
Yeah.
She's lovely.
Oh,
Catherine, you mentioned, is right beside Yasko.
Yeah. That's right. I've seen pictures of her fairly recently, but yeah.
And then the 2 people next to Catherine, there's a lady and a gentleman.
Yeah.
We were very pleased to bring these 2 from Italy. And the gentleman is Johnny Garco, who was in Dragon's Domain.
Oh, is he Tony Vedeschi?
He's Cellini. Yeah, Tony Cellini.
Oh, Tony Cellini. Sorry, Tony Cellini. Oh my God, that's him. That's amazing.
Oh, and when you look up, you see the picture with Nick Tate. It's bigger. That's those same 2 people. So the lady in the middle her name is Carla Romanelli Crowther, and she was in, you mentioned Space Brain. She was Kelly's wife in Space Brain.
Right. Yeah, because I know the story behind that, which is, and being, you know, working in the film industry, I know all too well how these balls juggle. And the financing for the show was partly set up by, I think it was an Italian broadcasting TV,
RAI. RAI.
Yeah, they had the rights to Italy and I think some other European countries, and they fronted, I don't know, they fronted a big percentage of the production budget because it was one of the most expensive TV shows of all time at the time it was made. Certainly in the UK, I think it was the most expensive, if I remember rightly. Yeah,
that was, and then that's Johnny Garco right on the outside, opposite.
What was he like as a guest?
Oh, he's amazing. He was so thrilled and so touched. Yeah, you know, he'd never experienced anything like this in 50 years, and he just, boy, he was just lovely to meet in person.
I can imagine that was, you know, because the show's a long time ago, and also he was a guest actor from a foreign country, so for him to come over and you know, have a fan base that's hanging on every word and wants to hear his stories and everything must have been quite emotional for him, especially at this age.
It really was.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming in. I think we should do a part 2
Thank you.
Of this in the lead up to the release of Return to Moonbase Alpha, sort of way down the road.
I'd love that. Maybe in the fall, maybe after we get through Manchester.
Yeah. I will also plug the convention for you guys again on my show in the lead up to doing that. And by all means, private message and remind me. I think we're going to be in touch on Facebook, which is always a good way to get hold of me. But you know, if you're interested in Space 1999 or indeed practical models, because I believe you're going to have a pretty big display of those at the convention. That'll be the thing I want.
Right there, absolutely. And again, you know, 2 or 3 of those collectors are going to be present and on site. And I will say that we're doing something a little different exhibit-wise this time out, and we're actually opening it up to some of the other Jerry Anderson properties as well. So you might also see things from UFO. You might also see some original puppets. I think that's why not? That's a
of course
idea.
Stick some Thunderbird stuff in there. That'll always go down well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, get Martin Bauer to bring along his personal collection.
There we go.
And for anybody interested, I've got this is industry interview 152. One of the other interviews, and I don't know if one of my moderators in the chat can find this for me, we did a show called Meet the Model Makers. And that show came about as a result of the Jerry Anderson, I think it's called Jerry Anderson Model Teach and Learn. It's a Facebook group.
Okay.
And it's a very diehard Facebook group of people who want to make the models from Jerry Anderson shows exactly as they were made, with the same kit parts, or as close as they can get them. And the chap from Birmingham who organised that stream for me, and we've got 4 model makers on, and a lot of them show their models. Somebody holds up a really big studio production skydiver on camera. So there's a few different models that are shown on camera. Someone shows a Viper from Battlestar Galactica that they built. Sadly, the guy who organised that, he passed away about 3 years ago, and God, his name momentarily escapes me. But it's a really, really interesting stream because, of course, all 4 of the people that are on there, they're all fans of Anderson shows.
Sure.
They've all got their own story to tell about how they came in, and they all specialise in slightly different areas of model making, all of which they were quite happy to show us on camera. Right. So it's really rather good. I think you'd find it very interesting. And if I can, I found it. There we go. It was industry interview number 17.
There we go.
And I'll just show a quick clip. This is Richard Ashton, I think his name was. Ashton, sorry.
Ashton.
Yeah. Do you know Richard?
I know of him and his reputation. Yeah. He's incredible.
I mean, all of these guys that were on this episode were absolutely at the top of their game.
Look at that Viper behind him. Wow.
I know. I mean, and this is I just skipped through. This is somebody else had done there's a Shadowmobile vehicle, and it was. I mean, they were a great collection of guys. I think it was Richard. Was it the chap in the bottom left-hand corner with the blue shirt? I think his name was Richard Denham. Sadly, passed away.
Okay.
And he organised this stream for me. So just to give him a belated shout out. But it's there you go. There's and a lot of the stuff that these guys made is studio, the studio size, because you always need big models for photographing, because that's what makes them look so good. You can light them properly, and and the bigger they are, the better they tend to look. But a lot of really interesting stuff on display in that set, and also showing you how molds are made. I think that's a mold for Thunderbird 3, the main body. So it's a very interesting episode, and I'm always a big fan of practical effects. So
100%. Well, that's what we're all very excited with this stretch goal. Hopefully we can. We're only about 9,000 pounds away, so we're about if people can
listen, if you can get involved and put something on the Kickstarter and help make this project a reality, I mean, look, you're not throwing your money away. You know, some Kickstarter things don't happen. Goals aren't met and projects fall side of the wayside. This project is definitely happening. They've already hit the first goal, but we'd really like to see these extra scenes with model eagles in this little vignette, as it were, that's going to bookend the show. And it'll be a really nice follow-up to the one that Xena Merton did in 1999, and in some ways kind of a nice dedication to her as well, sort of continuing
Absolutely.
the work that she did. And as we said, Nick Tate's going to be in it. I'm sure giving a very emotional performance as well. So something that's going to, you know, it's really going to live on. Thank you so much, Warren, for coming in. Really look forward to hearing more about that. All the links are all there, people that have been watching. So do check those out. I'll also, what I'll do is I'll also chuck that link for the Meet the Model Makers thing in the chat. For
and
you guys.
Lance, do me a favor. After we're done this broadcast today, send me a copy of it, and I'll put it on our pages as well.
Sure.
I think this has been a great chat. I'm really, really thankful that you had me on.
It's been fantastic. Listen, if you've got 2 minutes to talk after, I've got some end credits I've got to play, which will be adequate time for you to dash to the bathroom if you want to go. But once we're off there, I can chat to you for a little bit if you want to hang around.
For sure. Yeah.
That'd be great. Thanks very much for the people watching. I did see, sorry, one person did ask a question and I didn't put it to you. So let me grab that real quick. Yeah, this was it from, sorry about that for my due diligence failing me there. FKHC 2005. He asked if there was any ever season 3 scripts written before that whole idea was cabooshed. I was interested to know that myself, actually.
Well, that's very interesting because over the last couple of years, I did mention discovering some items from Martin Landau's collection, and one of the things is that he was the ultimate documentarian himself. He collected everything to do with the series and kept them all organized in special binders, and he really put a lot of time into it. And one of the things we discovered, there was correspondence and letters and even personal letters back and forth between himself and Jerry and Sylvia and Brian Johnson and Barry Morse, but there was a memo. And it was the first time, we'd always heard that third season was a possibility, but we didn't have any proof. Well, we were able to confirm it. There was a memo that referenced a Maya spinoff.
Yeah, I heard about the Maya spinoff.
Yes. So it might not even have been a full third season, but there was serious talk about doing a spinoff with Catherine Schell.
Right.
So I don't think, to answer the question, I don't think it ever got to the script stage, but there were some, 100% some preliminary discussions there.
I don't think that show would have worked. I think we would have got a short, probably like maybe 13 or 7 episodes, because her character was great, but her character was great because she was with the other characters. Yeah. It would have ended up being like Manimal, that show.
I tend to agree. It's just there's only so much you could do with the character, and I just don't know if they can flesh it out to the point where she could support her own series.
I not within the world that they'd already created. In a different sci-fi show, I guess you could have had the character fall through some kind of temporal vortex type thing. But anyway, well, that's in another universe, in another time, another place.
Exactly.
See what I did there? All right, well, look, we'll end it on that note. But thanks so much for coming on. I'll chat to you briefly after the show. I'm going to be back next Tuesday with my regular weekly review show, which is every Tuesday. We talk about the latest film and TV shows. On my channel, we tend to focus on stuff we want to recommend you, that we think is good, that we think is worth your time. I don't like to spend too much time bitching about the stuff that's bad. There's plenty of other people on YouTube doing that, and they're better at doing it than I am. I like to try and keep it positive. So I have also got several more guests coming up in the coming weeks. Several people, of course, from the London world of music. Also, film composer. Oh my God, the name's gone right out of my head. Who we had on earlier in the year, who did the soundtrack to Silverado, and of course, Young Sherlock Holmes, and so on. Brian Brofton. He's going to come back on the channel as well. So he's doing a part 2, just like Danny Webb did from Game of Thrones the other week. So I've actually got some guests that are going to be coming back, as well as people that have been on before. Even Gail-Ann Hurd said she'd come back for a part 2. Whether I can convince her or not remains to be seen, but she did say she would. So hopefully we'll get her back on as well at some point. Thank you so much, Warren, for your time. Thanks to everybody taking part. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell people about the channel. Also, if you are a creative person, you might be a filmmaker, you might be a writer with a book coming out, maybe you've designed a board game that's going on Kickstarter, any of the above. If you're a creative or you're doing a project that's got a creative element that I can see, get in touch with me via the Outcast Creative Facebook page. And if we can support you and your project and get you on and talk about it, we will do that. In the meantime, I'll speak to you all real soon. Bye.
Hang out with the lands at the Outcast Creative, where all the misfits and dreamers get innovative. It's film, TV, and theater in the mix. Industry interviews, where ideas get their fix. He's creative, we're creative. How about you? Share your passion, join the crew. At Outcast Creative, we're breaking through. Hang with Lance.
Well, hello, and there we go. That was our wonderful broadcast yesterday. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. I was trying to keep up with the comments. I was experiencing some lag as I was flipping back and forth there. So if I wasn't bringing the comments up fast enough, I do apologize. Martin's out there. Hey, my friend, how you doing? Nice to see you. And I think I got everybody else's up there, but yeah, what a really nice guy Lance was, and just thrilled to go on his show there. Be sure to like and subscribe to his YouTube channel. He has some very, very cool guests as well. Gail-Ann Hurd was the big one there. And he's, of course, very well versed in all things Jerry and Sylvia Anderson. So we had a really fun conversation. So, well, that's about it. I'm not sure if anybody's snagged up that surprise reward tier yet. Let's just have a look at that. We'll see if I can find something here in a hurry. Nope, not yet. But there's only one available. So it is just to reiterate and recap, it's a year 2 original shooting script for the Lambda Factor, but it also includes the full autograph package and tier, as well as the digital tier, and both versions of Breakaway that have been really, really popular the last week. That's the work print as well as the theatrical cut. So it's a really, really nice little package, one only. So like I said, if you've been sitting on the fence, it's a cool way to obtain an original production used Space 1999 item, as well as supporting the project and walking away with a bunch of cool goodies as well. So all right, that's about it. We will be back Sunday. I will schedule a live broadcast for updates as well, but we're going to frame that around a Space 1999 this episode. I think it'll be Catacombs of the Moon. We're making our way through year 2, and at this point, hopefully Roy will be able to join us, and I think this week we're going to be joined by Daryl Simmons from over in the UK, so he can maybe update us on everything to do with his wonderful eagle build at the same time. So be watching for that. That should be off the top of my head, it'll be 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Over in London. So, and 11 o'clock my time, which will be 10 o'clock Pacific. So there we go. Okay, well, thanks very much again. Really appreciate everybody's help and support out there, and share. That's just just give it a share. It's you tell two friends, they tell two friends, and so on is the old joke, and that's all it takes. We're well on our way to hitting that second stretch goal, everyone, and we should all be very happy, very excited, and even just unlocking that first one with that nice gold plaque with everybody's name on it, commemorative plaque with Return to Moonbase Alpha, Eagle 6, 50th anniversary, and your name on it, like a commissioning plaque, just like on the Starship Enterprise. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well, and that's already unlocked, and yeah, we're working towards that very special effects goal, that very special effects goal. I've got some more ideas for fun posters and graphics. Oh, by the way, I'll just bring up, while I got you guys here, in case you haven't seen them, I'm always working on new ways to promote things. There's a picture of Lambda Factor that's listed right now on the Kickstarter site. This was a fun one I put together, and boy, it sure generated some comments today. And I just love the tagline. You know, I feel like Don Draper, if you guys ever watched Mad Men, with all that wonderful world of advertising and those catchphrases like the famous Coke. I'd like to buy the world of Coke was in the very last episode, but this just, and somebody even said it, that tagline just resonates. No AI. We're smarter than that. I love it. And then, here's the irony. I used AI to make this image, but no AI in the final product. But promotion-wise, hey, I've admittedly played around with it. It can be fun, and here's just a one example, right? So no AI in the final product of Return to Moonbase Alpha, but promotion-wise, hey, I think it's all hands on deck, and away we go. I really like this one, the way it sort of wrapped the text, as if it was, on an old round picture tube, and even with the corners cut off. And if you notice in this one, there's even a little reflection, just like you're watching an old 1970s tube TV set. Wonderful. So we mentioned Daryl as well, and he's hard at work, of course, on commissioning not only the Eagle set, but some costumes as well. He had a number of spacesuits ready to go, and now, of course, he's completing things. He's doing chest packs. He's doing the full helmet and collar assembly that you see, and just very excited. And of course, a couple of plugs again for vintage special effects with some nice old shots there of, there's Brian holding one of the 44s, and I think off the top of my head, that's Eagle 1 right there. There we go. And Brian and Nick with some tiny little moon buggies there against the Moonbase Alpha model, which is now in the museum, of course, in Milton Keynes. But there's lots of possibilities here with what we can incorporate here. And even Daryl said, even if we use he's got the original radar tower from Force of Life, which I think I got a shot of it here. I don't have one loaded. Oh, wait. No, I do. Boom. There it is. That radar tower on top. That's Daryl Simmons' own piece that's in his collection, and that's the original used on the series. So, yeah. It might be some moon-based buildings. That you see on the lunar surface. So there's many different possibilities here as to how we can incorporate original models and just make our project that much extra special for everybody out there and everybody who's contributed. What a wonderful thought of seeing the originals on screen after all these years. Like that, just so amazing. So there we go. Okay, well, then I will wrap this up for tonight and say thank you very much again out there. And we will see you Sunday. I'll also be around with some Kickstarter updates each and every day. Very important. Really hoping we can trigger that Kickstarter algorithm to see us featured on their homepage, which would be phenomenal. So cross your fingers that happens here, and this thing will literally go to the moon. Like in no time. So, but you know what? Even aside from that, we're doing very, very well. We're far ahead of wherever I ever imagined us to be. And especially with that incredible launch of getting funded within 3 hours, hitting the first goal. We're a third of the way there on our second goal. We still got virtually half a month here. So still 14 or 15 days until we wrap up. So very, very exciting times for all things to do with our fun little fan film. It is still a fan film. Return to Moonbase Alpha. So, okay, everybody have a good night out there. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.